Hello and welcome to another tutorial. This time I'm going to go over rendering your mug for submission. So after you've done your texturing in Substance Painter and you have exported textures, make sure that if you're going to render in Maya, you're going to export the Arnold textures, so AI standard, and so make sure that all of these are exported. Okay. Cool. So we're going to start by loading our model. So the model that we're going to be loading is the same one we loaded into the Substance Painter. So it is the low resolution that we loaded into the Substance Painter. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag mine in right here. Low resolution. Cool. There it is. And now we just need to basically apply all of the textures onto it that we need. So here we're going to go into Hypershade and we're going to create a new material. So we're going to click here on Arnold. And this should not be new to many of you, I believe. Here it is, AI Standard Surface. I'm basically creating a new material. I'm going to name it Mug. Oh gosh, caps lock. Mug texture. Cool. I'm going to have it selected here, select my model, right click over here and say assign material to selection. So now that's going to be our assigned material. So now we're going to go ahead and start plugging our maps in. I like to do it just from here because that's how I learned. So first thing we have to do is reload the color. So color is going to be our diffuse map. So we're going to click on this checker box, say file, because we're going to load it from a file. Here we can go ahead and select a file. Mine are right here. If you have your project saved properly, your file should be in the source images, but I'm not going to go over that. So this one's going to be our base color, PNG. So I'm going to open, and that's it. That's our base color. To make sure that you see it in this view, you can click right here on this texture. So now you're seeing it. You can see our base color. Next up, we're going to plug, so I'm going to click on here again. We're going to plug the metallic. So I'm going to go to File again. I'm going to load an image, same thing. Metallic right here, say open. And now we're going to change the color space from sRGB to raw and make sure we check alpha is luminance for this one. Nice. We're going to go back and now you can see that this color has changed because it is more metallic. Nice. So next we're going to go over to roughness. I'm going to go file, kind of same thing here. Find the roughness map. We can see there's a lot going on there. Open. Same thing. Make sure we go to select raw as the color space and check alpha is luminance. Click out of it again. We're going to go ahead and go to geometry and bump mapping to load our normal map. So here another window opens. So bump value, before we set that up, we're going to use as tangent space normals and then bump value. This is going to be raw again. Now we unclick alpha is luminance and go over to our normal map. Normal. Open. Cool. Wow. Nice. But we need to go ahead and make sure it's went to raw instead of sRGB. So that is pretty much it. we do have a height map that exported from Substance Painter, but I wouldn't mess with it for this assignment. There's a little more that goes into it. And then the emissive map also, but if you don't have any emissive map data, then I wouldn't mess with it either, because if I go ahead and open my emissive, it's just going to be black because I don't have any emissive data. Nothing's shining. So yeah, that's it. But it looks pretty bad because you can see every polygon. So that's a pretty easy fix. You're going to go ahead and select edge mode, select all of the faces, going to mesh display, soften edge. So once you've gone there, now the edge is softened. So yeah, we can see our mug now is all textured. There's no lights in here, so it looks a little weird, but we're going to take care of that soon. So what matters now is that all of our textures are in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a light into here. So the way I'm going to do it, I could go ahead and say create lights, you know, ambient directional spotlight from here, actually from Arnold. Area light, sky dome light, mesh light, all that. Physical sky, maybe if I want to. You can definitely play around with these, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a sky dome light, which basically is a dome of light. So there could be different kinds, you know, of colors that you would add. Maybe your sky dome is red and a lot of intensity. If we turn on the light now, I mean, that's really intense. All the light is red, so our model is red. So we don't want that, obviously. I'm going to plug in something called an HDRI into here. And I'm going to show you guys how to get them. So here's a website called polyhaven.com. If you're not familiar with it, I would totally recommend you guys look at it. It works really good with Blender. It has a Blender add-on, but since we're doing Maya for now, I'm going to show you how to kind of work with Maya as well. So what we're going to go ahead and do is browse HDRIs, and I'm going to go ahead and, I mean, there's more than 700. So I'm going to go ahead and go into Studio, and I'm going to select this one, for example, right? And then there's resolutions, 2K, 4K, and then you can download and stuff like that. So I've already downloaded it, so if you go ahead and download, play around, download a couple, see what you like, which one you like better. So I'm gonna go ahead and into color, in the sky dome light color, I'm gonna select file, and I have this file right here, and now it populates my scene. So you can see now how the colors from this image directly impact the way my mug looks. So if I select the sky dome and I click E to rotate and I rotate around, you can see that, wow, looks pretty good. There's another thing that we could do material wise for the mug. If we go into our hypershade and we select our mug material, there's something called subsurface scattering, which is right here, which basically means it's like object's translucency. And you know, you would find a lot of the times, for example, something made out of porcelain or even our skin and stuff, we're not totally solid, right? So some light passes through. So a nice thing to do is add just a little tiny bit of subsurface scattering. So see the difference? There's a little bit of a difference. So I'm just going to add just a little bit to brighten it up, make it a little more translucent, although you can't really see it with the naked eye. So yeah, so now we have our light, but you know, if I click to render now, it's gonna just, you know, render like this, and I don't want that. I want to try to simulate like a studio of some sort and create a backdrop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create polygon primitives, plane, R to scale, W to move down, just moving down just so it slightly maybe protrudes. Yeah, that's fine. So nice. If I go over here to polyplane, I can lower these subdivisions. I don't need all of them. I'm gonna go to edge, select that edge. I'm gonna go Command E to extrude, pull it up like that, and then select this edge, press Shift, right click, bevel edge, and put a bunch of segments in there. 12 is nice. Everything else, I mean, I leave as is. You can play around over here with the amount of bend that you have. I like what we had in the beginning. So now if you go to object mode, you can, you know, scale it how you like it. You can go to edge mode, pull this edge a little bit out so that it looks like this mug is kind of standing in a studio, so to speak. Right. So if I would go now to render it, I could render it from a perspective view. So if I just kind of angle my perspective view to where I would want to render, if I go Arnold, render, it just quickly renders my image from my perspective view, right? It's kind of the same. There's a little more details in here than from the viewport, obviously, but yeah, it's a good way to just test it really quickly. So it looks like it's working, but I'm gonna X out it here. I'm gonna go ahead and change the color and some properties of my backdrop. So if I select it right here, this is the AI standard surface that this is assigned. So I'm just gonna say backdrop so that I know. Oh. Oh, sorry. Actually, no. I have to. So I select my backdrop and I'm going to assign a new material to it. Standard surface right here. I'm gonna name it backdrop. Cool. And then all I'm gonna kind of mess with, honestly, I can see the material preview here. I'm gonna make it a little bit more matte than it was. And, you know, I'm going to change the color to something more fun. Nice. So to see it reflect in real time, I'm going to select it and then say assign material to selection. And select it right here. See, maybe a little bit brighter than that. And that's kind of cute. Baby pink. And now if I say render, yeah, I like that a little bit better, so that's nice. So instead of rendering like this, I can show you another way to kind of set up. So you can actually go ahead and go create camera, and aim, and that creates a group that has a camera in it and an aim in it. So if you move W, the whole group, you can see that the aim and the camera moves. I'm gonna move it so that the aim is in the middle of the, roughly in the middle of the cup, mug. And then if I just select the camera, you can see that the aim deselects. And now if I move the camera around, it's always gonna be aiming where the aim is. So that's pretty cool. So what I'm gonna do is I wanna be able to see this. So I'm gonna go ahead and press spacebar. I'm gonna move these two windows down. I'm going to actually go up here to panels, perspective, and I'm going to go to camera 1, which that's going to make my view camera 1. And if I press right here, that basically tells me what the render view is. So I would need to pull this up more to be able to see kind of what the render view is showing me. Right, let's try to see if we can have some more real estate here. I'm gonna take that off so that I can see my camera here and my render view over there as well. So if I would want to move my camera and aim it upwards like that, kind of have this stylish shot, I can see that my backdrop is failing me a little bit. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select the backdrop, press R, and just scale it out so that it looks like it's infinite. So yeah, if you move in this view, you're moving the camera. So you can either do this, move the camera, right, to where you want it, or you can have the camera in a set position, right, and you can move the mug. Press E and rotate the mug, for example, right, so that way you don't have to mess with the backdrop too much. So either way, I'm gonna move the camera just a little bit more so the mug is in the middle, and put a little closer, kind of like this. See the mug out just a little. Cute. All right, so this is what I want to render. So if I go to Arnold render, it still renders from the perspective view, so can't really see anything. But if I click over here and I say camera shape 1, that's now it renders from my camera. So we can see what it looks like when it renders. And it renders pretty quickly, but it does a pretty bad job. It's a good visualizer, but it's pretty bad in terms of that it's really grainy and low quality. So the way to fix that is to go into render settings up here. You're gonna render using Arnold Renderer. Go over here to Arnold Renderer, and you can up these samples a little bit. So what I would up is specular, you can up to 4, maybe diffuse up to 4, and then if you want, this camera AA kind of ups everything up once. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then in common, we can set up the image size. So you can set up a 4K, 3K square, HD, full, you know, all these different kinds of presets. You can also tell it exactly the amount of pixels you want. You can also say what the resolution you want. 72 pixels per inch is fine if you're working it digitally. So if you would print this, you would go ahead and up this to 300, but 72 is fine. So I'm going to just go ahead and do HD 1080 with camera AA4, diffuse 4, specular 4, transmission, subsurface scattering. I'm not going to worry about volume indirect. I'm not going to worry about. I'm just going to see how this is going to look. So now you can see that it's rendering, and this is kind of what we're given. It's going square by square, and I'm going to check back when it's done rendering. Alright, so about 7 to 10 minutes later it's done rendering, so now we can see what it looks like. If you zoom in, it's a lot better than it was before. You can see, you know, the specular and everything very well in here. You can see our normal map is nice in here. And, you know, you can kind of keep doing the same thing and take a couple renders and submit them to me. The way you save them is by File, Save Image, and you can say mug render 1, and I'm going to go ahead and save it in the same kind of big folder that I've been saving stuff to. So yeah, play around with this. You can try to add lights to this too, and try to play around with different HDRs. The reason why I want you to do this is so you guys get in the habit of doing this, rendering your work, so that when you put together a website or a portfolio, it's really easy for you to kind of, you know, pull it because you already have good quality renders. So waiting a longer time for an image to render pays off when you need to put a website together really fast, or when you are putting a website together or sending somebody your work. So yeah. And last thing is that you can save this Maya project and just reuse your scene with different objects, which is pretty cool as well. So that's just a tip. But yeah, alright, see you in the next one.